Every time I have tried to film for the past 2 days, my roommate comes out and starts, the I ain't get no sleep because of y'all meme. Yeah, that's literally, I swear to God, what is happening every time I have tried to film for the past few days. And then also I'm just like trying to stop and listen to see if I need to call the cops on her again or not, because I'm not safe here. But this is something that I have been thinking about for a while, especially since I got my diagnosis. For context, I am a late diagnosed autistic adult, and I spent so much of my teenage and young adult years consuming self-help content, whether that be in the form of books or YouTube videos. For example, like I would follow so many lifestyle self-help creators, and looking back on it, I really think my kind of fixation on this type of content was something that I used to try to understand the world, right? Like not only understand myself, but understand the people around me and understand society and understand all of the big things that I didn't naturally just get. And I think in this way it was comforting, because I always wanted to know why. I can never take anything at face value. I can never just accept what is given to me. I want to know why. And seemingly self-help content had all of the answers, right? Oh, I suck at social life. Here's 25 tips to improve your social life. Oh, I have no friends. Here's 105.3 ways to make friends in 5 minutes. But yeah, just this kind of idea, right, that any problem you have, the solution is probably just a Google search away, probably just a YouTube search away. There's probably at least 105 creators telling you that they have the answers. And I, looking back, can so clearly see how this was appealing to my autistic brain, who always wants and needs the answers, who knows that she is out of place, that something is wrong, that for some reason that she cannot identify, she is different. But if only she, developed the 7 habits of highly effective people, she would no longer feel these feelings that she's feeling, that she can't describe, that she doesn't know where they come from. But I think the thing about self-help is that it's never over, unfortunately, self-help is an industry today. It's an industry, and it makes a lot of money. And if you suddenly become the person that you want to be and are satisfied with your life, or are comfortable with where you're at and who you are and what your life means to you, and the purpose that you feel each day, you no longer need that content. You no longer need to seek out information from these creators, from these authors, from these documentaries. It's based on your inability to kind of be okay with who and where you are in this moment in time, and a desire for something better, a desire to understand, a desire to have the language to explain your experiences. And especially once I realized that I was autistic, I really have not consumed any self-help content, and I feel like looking back, I can see how it really may have been harmful rather than helpful to my little neurotype here, right? I feel like a lot of self-help content is portrayed as a one-size-fits-all. You know, oh, if you have this problem, you're just not doing this. If you're lacking this, you need more of this. If you can't find this, you have to look here. If you can't solve these problems, you just need to change your perspective. And I know this all seems quite cynical, and it seems like a really negative view of self-help in general, and I don't necessarily want to demonize it, because I do think that over the years I have gained some really valuable insight. Personally, for me, I think the best thing that I took away, the best thing that I could practice is, mindfulness techniques, meditation, certain aspects of spirituality, but this is, again, more just kind of related to my relationship with self-help and being neurodivergent, because there are so many instances in which it is not a one-size-fits-all, and most things in life aren't a one-size-fits-all, but having this kind of idea, for example, that, oh, I feel disconnected, I struggle to connect with people, I feel like I'm so different, and then, logging onto the internet to hear someone tell you, oh, it's just in your head, like, you're just like everyone else, you just need to XYZ your way out of these feelings, when at the end of the day, I was literally neurologically different, and there were real concrete differences and struggles that I faced and experienced that maybe a lot of the people around me weren't. And this became more apparent to me the older I got. When I was a kid, especially when I had the shift from elementary to middle school, things got really, really, really difficult for me, and I very quickly noticed that I, for some reason, was unable to do the things that my peers were doing, and when I did do them, it left me in shambles, it left me in pieces. I was not okay, right? I remember in middle school, I simply could no longer go to school. Like, it's such a big shift, you have 7 classes a day, the sensory experience of school, the social aspect, I moved a lot, and once I shifted to middle school, it literally became so much for me that I couldn't do it. I was crying every day, I was crying at school, I was crying when I got home, I had severe migraines, I could not cope. I was running away from the bus stop. I was doing absolutely everything that I could to protect my nervous system in the environment that was middle school as a child who was autistic and didn't know that they were autistic. So there's a lot of experiences like these, right, where I knew that something was wrong. I knew that something was different. And self-help kind of offers you a way out of these feelings, right? Of these things. Like I said, any problem that you have, I can guarantee you that there's a million answers on how to solve it, and everyone, offers the promise that it either works, or if it doesn't, you're not doing it right. And I think another aspect of consuming so much of this content is that there came a point for me, at least, when I realized that it was kind of a waste of time, in the sense that you can sit here and read books about how to improve your life, or listen to people who you perceive to be better than you telling you how you can improve your life, or listen to content creators tell you how they improved their life. And not that none of it is useful or inspiring or cool to hear, but at the end of the day, like, you are not them and they are not you. And something that worked for this person may not work at all for you, or may be harmful to you, or may not fit in your life. And at some point, I feel like you need to put the books down, like put the videos away, and just actually go live your life and let these things unfold. If you just exist in your world, in your time, in your space, life naturally unfolds, and you will inevitably be presented with all sorts of situations and issues and circumstances that will require your attention, and you will go through them, and you will learn and you will overcome, and you will find what works for you, and you will find what doesn't work for you. And as a neurodivergent person, this is so important, especially because at least most of us who were undiagnosed, we go through our lives not having this information and pushing and pushing and pushing ourselves to try to fit into these molds of what we think we're supposed to look like, of what we think our lives and our personalities and our day-to-days are supposed to look like. And we base that off of everything around us, and we suppress everything about us that is real, that is genuine, and it is so, so harmful. And it's not until that we're usually diagnosed or made aware of this information that we actually have to sit there and take everything out and unpack it one by one and look at it and say, this is not me. That's not me. This is me. And you have to sort that shit out. You have to sort it out in order to be able to find even the tiniest piece of your authentic self that, you know, was buried in there. It was buried so deep down. And it's such a chore, and it's such an emotionally demanding and draining experience to have to unpack all of these things. And I think the last thing we need as neurodivergent people is people telling us that, and I say people telling us, obviously this content is not like, we're not being like tied down and forced to consume self-help content. I realize I'm a little dramatic in speech sometimes, but you know what I mean. Like, if we are unaware of these things and we're seeking it out, like, the last thing that we actually need is people telling us where to go and what to do and how to improve our lives and improve ourselves, because the only way we're really going to figure that out is by spending time in here, spending time in our brains, processing all of the past versions of ourselves that we created to present to society in hopes of being normal, in hopes of having a better life, in hopes of being able to get by and be like everyone else. I think especially since my diagnosis, I don't think I've actually consumed any self-help content at all, and I've actually just tried to spend more time indulging in things that actually bring me joy, no matter how society perceives those things to be, and focusing on, you know, my own needs and desires and wants, and learning to say no to people, and learning to protect my nervous system that is so sensitive and has always been so sensitive and responsive to the world. But I've realized that my life as an autistic person is not going to look like everyone else's. I spent years and years beating myself up. Oh, this person does X, Y, Z all at the same time. Oh, these people are going to school full-time and working full-time or part-time and having friends and doing this and doing that, and I can barely just sustain this. What is wrong with me? Why am I like this? Why is everyone else doing XYZ and I am not doing XYZ? And I didn't have that information. I didn't have those answers. And, seeking out content that claims to have the answers to the problems in your life seems so easy. But for me as a neurodivergent person, that was never the answer. The real truth is that all along I was correct in my observations, right? Yeah, all of these other people are doing XYZ, and I am doing XY, and I'm barely hanging on by a thread. That is true, and that is valid, and as a matter of fact, there is a genuine reason why, and it does not make me any less of a person, and it does not make me any less worthy than them. It is so relieving to finally come and understand that, and it can be so hard to come to terms with these differences, but it is also so insanely validating to understand that, yeah, neurotypical people are doing XYZ. And maybe they're fine, maybe they're not. But that's not the point, because you are not neurotypical. You literally have a different brain, and you are not built to thrive in the environments that other people are thriving in. You need some adjustments. You're going to need to set yourself up for success in a way that will not look like theirs. It's going to look different. And coming to terms with this is oddly disappointing and insanely comforting at the same time, because I think there's no greater act of self-love than really just listening to your own needs and listening to your body and your brain and being kind and being graceful to yourself and accepting yourself as you are, even if the rest of the world isn't really willing to do that. This is a topic that I've kind of thought about for a few months, but I think the big message here is that self-help is different for autistic people. Self-help is not going to apply to our lives in the ways that it might apply to others, and self-help content is presented as something so generalizable, like I said, as a one-size-fits-all. And that's not the case in general. That's not the case for anyone. But especially considering your neurodivergency, I think, at least for me, it provided comfort in the sense that I had an outlet to try and understand the world and to try and understand myself, because all I do as an autistic person is observe. Especially most of my childhood, being isolated, not having friends, and just not generally enjoying being social most of the time in the first place. I have spent 21 years of my life observing and noticing and just wanting to know why. I want to know why. I want to know why for absolutely everything. It's an itch that I need to scratch when I am presented with information. I am unsure if any of this made sense, but I'm glad to have finally at least attempted to articulate some of this. And it's been really, really nice to hear from fellow neurodivergent people who have had similar experiences. I honestly never thought that I would have the ability to understand myself in such a powerful and concrete way, but I also never thought that I would meet other people like me, let alone could I ever consider that people like me did exist. So it's a very comforting thing. And again, if you listen to my ramble, thank you. I think I'm gonna create an official outro, which is the fact that every time I make these videos, I never know how to do an outro, so I'm gonna end it now. I'm just gonna stick with that. Alright.